Okay, 3, 2, 1. This episode of Lords of the Storm is brought to you by our sponsors over at Patreon, where you, yes you, can also support the show. Just head over to patreon.com/Lords of the Storm to become a patron today.
Heroes, gather tribute and earn my favor. What do you say? Are you ready to begin?
Why, yes, I am, Mr. Ravenlord. Thank you very much. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Greg Gizmozord Parker, and you're listening to Lords of the Storm, episode 115, the weekly Heroes of the Storm podcast for you, the true Heroes of the Storm. I'm joined tonight, of course, by the Zord Lords themselves, Mr. Kevin Multi-Zord Ellis and Ryan TBK Zord Reader. Nailed it. And on this week's episode, Try Hard for Good wraps up. Our Season 1 ranked reward mount has finally been revealed. Diva enters the Nexus, and make sure your fountain is off of cooldown for this week's Hero of the Week as we discuss Newther, because you'll probably need to drink from that fountain. Or not, actually, because he's freaking awesome now. But first, let's see how the other Zords are doing. TBK, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. I feel much better now. That was actually one of your best intros in weeks.
That was
I'm
good.
very proud of you.
Yeah, I
Did
got
you
your
actually
name right. I even went off
Was that
script. It was half ad-libbed, half scripted.
I feel
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, was TBK Zord's name scripted, and did you have the R like capitalized, bolded?
Yeah, I
underlined?
actually had literally an entire page of that, like,
Just
bolded.
a giant 72-point
go.
font.
No, before I go
No.
to bed every night, I write TBK Zord at least 100 times and pronounce it while I'm writing it. So
That's a little creepy. I was gonna say it felt like you healed me and I got 25 armor for 2 seconds.
yeah, that's
But now it feels like you shot a holy light and missed me entirely.
yeah. I don't know. It's
That's the way to play Newther, isn't it? I thought so.
I have found recently that for these intros, it's nice to have a plan, but you just got to go with what you're feeling. If something's
Go with
like
your
sticks
heart.
out, if something's like,
Yeah.
something whispers, "Hey, Greg, you should say this." I'm like, okay, I'll say it. It'll
Well, it
come
can't
out of my
sound
mouth.
like you're reading, Like you can't just get up there and be like, and this week we have blah, blah,
that was
blah.
that was
Like,
episode
would just be
1 through like 30.
30. Yeah.
Hello,
point.
this week we will be talking
Yeah.
about Illidan. He is the best.
I hope
and
you're
there's
prepared.
sales.
We hope you're prepared. Multi, how are you doing this week?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. Pretty darn well. I don't know how much we want to get into it right here, but I love Diva. Like, so fun. And I wanted to kind of throw in a note at the top here too. I've tried out the new Lucio as well. He's not really new. There's not a rework, you know what I mean? But the slight nerf. And I just want to throw this out there. I think he's fine. You can still do what you were doing previously and get by. Like, my main worry with the healing nerf was that I would run into issues, you know what I mean? Like keeping people up.
Early
But
game?
for the most part, the people I was trying to keep up stayed up in the games I've been playing. So, I don't know.
I'm going to have to edit that out so Blizzard doesn't hear it and they'll buff him.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
No, he's terrible now. Unplayable.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Awesome. So what have you guys been up to in gaming this week? Multi, we'll start with you.
Oh, just been trying to squeeze in some heroes where I can, for sure. I really have been cutting back on Hearthstone quite a bit, and it's really relaxing. Like,
You hit your
not
goal,
that
though.
I hit my goal. Yeah,
You-
exactly.
You did the thing. Like
Did the thing.
you climbed the mountain, you set your flag down at the top, and then
That's
you got a cool card back.
Yeah. So no, I feel satisfied with it well enough, and so yeah, I mean, I've been peppering that in for sure. But I mean, when I get the chance to, it's heroes for sure. And I've been having a good time. I've still been on my support kick as of late.
Awesome.
Been trying out the Newther.
I've been playing more support recently than I have in the, I don't know, little length of time because I've been sticking more to Assassins, but I've been playing a lot of Malfurion because I miss that dude.
It's fun.
I'm having a little bit of trouble on Newther, but we'll get into that. Just with me playing more Assassins now, I feel like I'm stronger than I am, and it's still rough. But TBK, how about you? What have you been up to?
So lots of heroes, messed around with Diva a little bit, and I play with Bo from Core quite a bit. And whenever a new hero comes out, he always goes on a crazy spree. Sometimes it's just, a normal Bo spree, and then sometimes it's I played so much of the character, all I'm going to do is talk in Genji quotes for the next week type thing.
And has he done that with Diva?
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm
Does
waiting
he not
for
like her?
I'm waiting for the Doritos and like Mountain Dew picture of him just like sitting back in his chair or something like that, going like nerf this. But so I've played some of the new Alarak, who I never liked Alarak before that much. He's super high skill cap because of his telekinesis.
Yeah.
But I've been playing that. I switched that from quick cast to on release.
So you can see.
Yeah,
like,
so I can
tone
see
and
the
stuff.
thing, and there's like I normally like quick cast, but that's helped so much. Like just getting people into position, and the larger Discord strike by default really helps out a lot. And he's got some really fun new quest talents that are completely different from any other here. Like the ones where you can, if you hit all three people or three people with a Discord strike, you get the whole thing done instantly.
Have you done it yet?
I have.
Oh, really?
I
So it's
have.
not
I
that
was-
hard to do? Because
Oh,
I mean,
it's-
I would have assumed.
It really depends on how well the enemy team positions. So like
Right.
if you've got a bunch of people that are just like, we're just gonna group up in a big ball, then yeah, it's super easy. But if you have people who position correctly, it makes it really hard to get that done. So that's been fun. I've been hitting Hero League a lot more. I don't know why. It sucks because I'm a tank support player. I don't normally play a ton of assassins, right? And so it's hard to quote carry games
Right.
when you're playing with a support, and slightly less so with the tank because you can kind of direct the engages a little bit, but you're still counting on your teammates positioning, you're still counting on your teammates mini map awareness and stuff. So I've been honestly, and for those who are pushing, you'll probably know this, especially down in the gold plat area, it's a grind. It's just a grind. And I have a little more heroes time than you guys do, and I still don't feel like I have anywhere close to the amount of time I would need to sink into Hero League to actually really push rank.
Yeah, it's
And that's super discouraging.
And I have the same perception too, and that kind of gets me stuck in the mode where I just want to level heroes and get in there and get loot boxes and work in the account level and stuff. So like,
it doesn't give me a lot of motivation to play Hero League when it's just
Right.
like, well, if I may need 50 to 60 games to go up 2 or 3 ranks. That's a lot of games.
Yeah,
of Hero League only by myself, which is why my philosophy has almost been shifting back a little more to, maybe I wouldn't mind duos coming back because I just like playing with other people. Playing
Agreed.
solo just is fun.
Yeah.
It's not. So
it's
I don't
good
know.
for a one-off. Like what I've been treating Hero League as is if I have just enough time to maybe sink into one, but I don't want to like find a group and dig around in the channel and stuff. Sometimes I'll just log in, hit the button. Maybe I want the draft experience or something, So I have found myself doing the one-offs there, but yeah, as far as like actually hardcore pushing it, I've got all the same concerns you do for sure.
Yeah, I've just been trying recently. I've been trying to. I just want to find a team, almost, that and it's hard too when you've only got like I can dedicate maybe 2 nights a week to playing Team League. Crap, that's awesome. Sure, that's a few hours. Now I have to find 4 other people with that exact same schedule
Right.
to play, who are also around my level to play with. It's hard. It's really hard. If only there was a group finder in game that let you put your schedule in and find other people around the same level. I mean,
That's
Could be
crazy.
so
I don't think I've ever talked about that before or written a large blog post. No way.
Yeah, and
Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. It's been
You're not wrong.
Been weighing heavy on my heart
yeah,
lately.
it's an interesting thing too, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I kind of went back to making this alt account to play, because that is, most of my time spent in game now is just in quick match, because I'm the same as you. I don't have the time to make an impact in Hero League, so I get my placement games out of the way, and then I'll hop in on occasion, and if I have like a win streak going, keep playing, but if not, just get back into quick match, because I'm not going to have that impact. So that's kind of why I'm wanting to experiment with this alt account to see where I get placed at, which I'm still in the process of leveling up my 14 heroes, I think it is
14.
that you need now.
Right.
I mean,
But
it just no, go ahead.
It's a double-edged sword, because another game I've been playing this week a little bit is Battle Right. And the ranked play in that is more along the lines of what Heroes ranked play used to be in kind of Hearthstone, where it's the ladder. And you climb really fast. Like in my first night playing that game, I climbed from competitor to bronze to silver, like silver 4 or something. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm on a win streak. I'm going up ranks really quick. That feels good. But then you can also go down ranks fast. So in a game like that, if Heroes was like that, it can feel just as bad, like hopping on one night where you have these bad nights and, I just lost an entire tier. I went from platinum to gold 5.
Especially
so
if
weird.
You're getting less points for wins than you are for losses.
Yeah. So it's hard.
It's an interesting thing too, and we'll talk about it in a second. But on the amount of games, this try hard for good that we saw Dyrus and Skara and Voyboy doing, most of them played over 200 games. Over 200 games in the last, I think it was 3 weeks or so, and 300 games or 200 and some games for Dyrus to climb from D3 to Grandmaster.
Yeah.
200 and some games for Voyboy to climb from D5 to Master, and 200 and some games or more. And we'll look at the exact details for Scar to climb from Plat to Master.
Yeah, and these are people whose mechanics are off the charts just with their general MOBA experience. And again, spoiler alert, I thought Dyrus did fairly well in HGC, etc. So these are good players. It's much more of a grind if you're not a multi-world champion in MOBAs, your win rate's not going to be the same. That's all I'm saying.
You are correct, Kevin. For us mere mortals, it is you're talking double, triple that. As long as you're continuing to improve, continuing your map awareness, continuing your positioning, continuing your drafting knowledge, and that type of thing. This turned into a really big discussion, but it's
all right.
It's interesting to kind of see where you guys were at, because that's kind of what I've been feeling on the Hero League side lately, that in a lot of ways, is it really even worth my time to do?
Yeah, and I've been there that way for the last 2 seasons maybe, and I'm not sure I necessarily have anything wrong with it, because I don't know if I want it to be like an easy grind. Sure, it would probably get me into it more, but at the same time, if you want it to be like that real competitive thing where your rank is really meaning something, then it kind of, it's going to go to the players that have time to put into the game. And I'm okay with that as well. I've just kind of accepted that that's not necessarily, me with a full-time job and doing a couple podcasts and
it's kind of
wanting
it,
to
right?
play with other people.
If we were full-time streamers and that was our thing, we'd have the time to sink in.
Yeah.
And would definitely push. But, without that, yeah, it gets tough.
So we'll see where it goes. It's still a young life span kind of in their ranked play here. So let's go ahead, hop into the show here. TBK, why don't you go ahead and take us through the store sales or collection update this week?
Yes, the weekly collection update. Again, 2 heroes, 4 skins, 2 mounts. Diablo down to 150 gems, and Tyrande at 250 gems, which Tyrande, of course, just got the huge rework. Really good rework, actually. A lot of fun. So if you don't have her, I highly recommend you pick her up.
It's cool that they timed this with that, too.
Oh, I agree.
That's really nice.
Very cool. Jasper, Frostlord Rexar, Spectre Tracer, Darkstar Princess Li Ming, and Shadow Mystic Kingdoms Arthas. These names sound actually sometimes way cooler than the actual skins.
Yeah.
Just like Darkstar Princess Li Ming. Whoa. And then the Crimson Fellsaber Demon and the Raider Cyber Ram mounts are also on sale for gems this week.
I kind of missed that they don't do here are the heroes on sale this week. Oh, here's a skin on sale for them as well. Because I really want the Tyrande hero skin, the superhero skin.
So good. It's so good. It's my favorite.
Cool.
I meant to ask you, since you're playing kind of the more tank support role in Hero League, do you plan on taking Tyrande to be able to pump out some more damage as well? Maybe have an impact, get that hunter's mark, make honestly, easy target.
I've only gotten to play a few games with her since her rework. She feels really interesting. I think she would fit really well in a double support type composition. It's the same with Uther, right? Because it allows you to grab some more of their damagey type stuff, and like the Divine Storm on the Uther side, and so going like a full owl build instead of necessarily pumping a lot of stuff into the heal talents.
Yeah.
Because I think she can solo heal, but I think your team has to be aware that your their solo healer is a Tyrande.
Right.
It's kind of the opposite, and I was complaining about this on Twitter earlier. Kind of the opposite of Morales, because it feels like whenever I play Morales, my team is just like, well, I can do whatever I want because I got that healing bait on me, and it's like, no, guys, no. I don't have infinite mana. I cannot save you from a 1v5, and no,
And we'll get to this, but Uther is the same way, the exact same way.
Yeah.
I had a game actually just right before this where it was one of those 1 and 4 maps, and so I was down in the 4 lane with everybody. It's just this huge brawl the whole time, and my team was aggressive, and not so easy to keep them up for sure.
Yeah, it's. I picked her up. I haven't played her since it went live. I picked her up on my alt account a week and a half ago in preparation because I feel like she is going to be one of my go-tos there. All right.
I think a lot of people are doing that. I've been seeing her in games, just like before the patch went live. Just people kind of getting their feet wet again. Makes sense.
Okay, Multi. How about the free hero rotation this week?
We've got ourselves a little Anubarak, Artanis, ETC, Kael'thas, Karazim, Lili, Butcher, Tyrael, Zagara, Zul'jin. I can't even do all this in one breath anymore. We got Azmodan at account level 5, Zarya at 10, Chromie at 15, and to the regret of anyone who doesn't like stealthies in there, every single quick match, Valera at 20. Right there. So
indeed,
it's Valera week.
At least she got that slight nerf. Doesn't have as much burst. All right.
That is true.
So let's go ahead and get on into the news. All right. So first up, I have here the Gathering Storm tournament. My bud from CTR Sharku is putting on. The signups for that are going to be closing May 30th. So if you want to sign up for that, make sure to get a team. And just a quick reminder, that is our community, kind of Heroes community tournament that he's putting on to kind of pit up the Convert to Raid / Lords of the Storm versus A Move TV, Frog Pants, and Geekly Incorporated. It will be a 5v5 tournament, not 2v2 like our Lords of the Lane. And that'll be June 3rd and 4th, which is a bye week for the HGC. So it's a really cool idea, and I think it's going to be a really good time. So if you do want to sign up for that, make sure and get in there to do so. Also, we have the Nexus Challenge continuing on here, and this is the 4th and final week. So make sure to hop in after completing 5 games and still quick match unranked or ranked. In Heroes, you'll get 10 loot chests as well in Overwatch 10 loot chests. So that is quite a bit, especially for Overwatch. Not a bad
for
deal
both
there.
games.
Yeah.
I think this is the week everyone's been waiting for, really, because this is the one that has monetary value, you know? Like, I mean, okay, some of these skins and mounts have been cool leading up to this, but, I mean, this is where we could rake it in a little bit, get some free stuff. So I know there were some Overwatch-only people that did the entire thing just to get access to these 10 loot boxes in Overwatch. So, yeah.
Maybe it hooked them
to a close. Hopefully.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
It's really funny because after I finished this, I jumped into Overwatch for the first time in since the PvE event went live, because I jumped on for a little bit because I don't play a ton of Overwatch, but I jumped on a little bit for the PvE event because it was kind of fun for a few times, just to open my 10 loot chests. And I got the first one, and I was like, "That's crap. Where's the reroll button?"
Right.
And then I opened the second one, I was like, "That's crap. Where's the reroll button?" It's like,
Gotta get on this, Jeff Kaplan.
It's one of the best features of the Heroes one. It really is.
Yep.
Like,
And my luck in Overwatch has been, man, I'm not getting this thing I've got. But I finally have the, gold to build the skin I want. Oh, look at that. 2 boxes later. Just rolled that. And I got 300 gold or whatever for it. And I just spent 3,000. Feels great. Feels real good. So, yeah.
That's already happened to you?
3 times?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. You might be cursed.
I think I am. One of them was my own fault. I did the Nutcracker. Oh man, why can't I? Healer. Omni, dude.
Oh, Zenyatta.
Yeah, Zenyatta. At the beginning of the event, and I was like, that was dumb. I should have waited until the end to make sure I wasn't gonna get him. So I blame that one on myself. But you know what? Heroes crates are better anyways, so I'm not too worried about it. Not too worried about it at all.
Yeah.
Try Hard for Good. If you guys have been following that, I watched a lot of Dyrus, and some Voyboy, a little bit of Skara, but mostly some Dyrus, has come to an end. And again, this was kind of a charity thing that they were doing to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And they ended up raising a grand total of $93,900 from North America, and worldwide $167,882 for the charity.
Wow.
Which so cool.
Is really
so
nuts. Cool. But it's interesting. So these guys, at least from North America, were, of course, League of Legends players who are known playing in that competitive circuit, and had not current competitive players, but still streamed League, coming over to Heroes. And yeah, turns out the skills seem to carry over pretty well. We had Dyrus. Yeah, Dyrus finishing at Grandmaster number 177. Voyboy got to Masters. And
this was so sad. He was within 2 games of Grandmasters several times.
Yeah.
And just
he played
back and forth.
He played, I think it was last night, or whatever the last night of the competition was. He stayed up so late trying to get Grandmaster to get that extra $5,000. The dude was a freaking champ, but couldn't quite do it.
Yeah.
And to everyone that was playing against him in those games, man, just let him have the money, man. It's for Make-A-Wish.
And then also Skara, who climbed to Masters as well. And it was really interesting. At least, like I said, I didn't watch a ton of Voyboy or Skara, but Dyrus, kind of watching him progress through the game and how far his mechanical aspect carried him kind of in the beginning. Because I had hopped on when he was high diamond and just kind of breaking into masters. And I mean, some of the maps and stuff and rotations, like he was openly talking about how he didn't really understand, or like he would dive in. He was playing a lot of gray main and die and be like, well, obviously, I shouldn't have done that at all. And it makes me feel, pretty good about myself. I may not have the mechanical chops, but I feel like I have some better decision making, which I guess is to be expected considering he has been playing this for what, like 4 or 5 weeks, 3 weeks, and I've been playing for 2 years.
I think Boy was the only one who had played previous to the actual Try Hard for Good.
And who was Voyboy's coach? Was that Scars was Chew8, right? And Dyrus was Dunk Train.
No, Scars was Dunk Train. Dyrus's was Chew8, and KO, I believe, was Voyboy's.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
But like we said, all three of them played several hundred games.
Yeah, lots.
And like they just, it's dedicated time, right? They had dedicated stream time. I'm sure Blizzard paid them or set them up or whatever for, getting a certain amount of stream time for the last several weeks. But it's a lot of games. And I mean, I think that really goes to prove the point of even starting with the knowledge they had, and they did get kind of a boost in some ways, from a learning perspective.
Some of the best.
Yeah, from some of the best, for sure. And they have the mechanical stuff. So a lot of it came down to learning the maps, and then most of them were really smart and picked a small subset of heroes that they enjoyed, that they used, like Voyboy did a lot of Sonya, and I know Dyrus talked about doing a lot of Dahaka, Leoric, Sylvanas, that type of thing. But they kept their hero pools. They learned small, which makes total sense when you're only doing it for a few weeks. Just kind of general decent heroes that you can help your team snowball or help your team carry games with. But at the same time, like Multi was saying, these are extremely good players, regardless of if they played heroes or not before. It's still a MOBA.
Mm-hmm.
And all those mechanics, MOBA type mechanics, will transfer over pretty much. And it still took several hundred games of playing Hero League for them to hit Master and Grandmaster. And that's starting
Diamond 3 or High Diamond.
Diamond 3, Diamond 5, and Plat.
Right.
It's pretty nuts.
And that's for these very high level people. So just, think about starting from silver, starting from gold. It's totally possible, but you're going to be playing a lot of hundreds of games probably over several seasons, as long as you're improving and getting better to actually be able to hit some of those goals. So,
and that's, in a way, that's okay, because like, we don't mean to rag on the system the entire time. I'm sure there are people out there where that's their goal. They legitimately want to improve their game. They're really analyzing all their play, maybe going back, checking out replays. I mean, doing every little thing that you can, and that's great. Like that's awesome. If I had more time, I'd be doing the same thing for sure.
Just know, if you're doing that climb, this is what you unless you're on the upper echelons or you're starting from like D3 or something like that, there's going to be a climb involved. Yeah. And so this is not to discourage you. This is some ways to be an encouragement and say, you are going to probably have to play a lot of games. So don't get discouraged because you'll go on loss streaks, you'll go on win streaks, but you will trend upwards over time if you're supposed to. But you just have to put in those games and that time. And like we talked about, that's just not possible for everybody to do.
I think it's totally okay to have a multi-season plan, like I feel like some people set unrealistic goals for one season, like, oh man, I've got to finish Diamond this season. I'm freaking out about it. And then if they don't hit it, it's kind of a shot to the ego there. So yeah, just set the goal out. If you don't hit it this season, you got next season. It's fine. Just keep improving. You know?
There'll be another season after this season. And then another season after that season.
No.
And then possibly another season.
Possibly.
that.
We'll see.
We can't
Possibly.
promise that last one.
It has not been announced yet. So I don't know.
What's the mount for that one? 3
Yeah,
seasons.
for
Ooh,
sure.
What
Well,
a great
Actually, what's
transition,
the
Multi.
mount for this next one?
yeah, we're into 2017 season 1, and finally we do have our mount announcement for ranked play. And you may have been expecting, some form of animal, and you'd be correct.
Some form
But
of
then-
elemental animal.
Yes, but then
Going off of previous things.
then you may have been expecting the same animal with cool spikes coming out of him, crystals for his epic version. You would be wrong. So the mount is the Battle Raptor.
Terra confirmed.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I have no idea, but that'd be kind of cool.
So it's the Battle Raptor and then the Epic Battle Raptor, of course, which just has some armor on it. These mounts are sweet, and it's a new model to enter the game. So obviously some work went into this, which is, possibly understandable why it took so long. And potentially, who knows, maybe they had another elemental animal ready, and they finally realized, like, guys, I don't know if the elemental animals are hitting where we want. So let's get something else.
I don't know what you guys think, but I think the base version Raptor actually looks better than the epic one.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah. Honestly.
I will say
Honestly.
the thing that bothers me about the epic one, which shouldn't bother me because I'm not going to get that thing, is the thing over the eye on his helmet.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
That's a little odd. It kind of gives it a robotic feel, which is interesting. Like, I feel like if I had it, I would rock it, but I'm satisfied with the other one.
Yeah.
You have to hit Master
Right.
to get
In
the
either.
epic mount in either Team League or Hero League, but it has to be Master.
Yep.
Exactly. So
Any rank in Team League will get you it
Yes.
as long as you place.
So make sure to, if it's
it'll
platinum,
get you the base Battle Raptor.
correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To get the base Raptor in Hero League, it's platinum. You just complete your placement games, which again you only need one other person to do for Team
Right.
League at this point. So
That is so
Crank this
much easier to do than it used to be.
yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
So no reason not to do that for sure. And yeah, I want to echo again. I love the just new model and everything. I mean, we've been kind of crying for a Raptor ever since Zul'jin came out. At least I have a little bit, because it just kind of fits the troll World of Warcraft theme.
Makes
you know?
sense.
So it's good to see. It's good to see.
You know what else? Raptors are slightly
Clever girls.
closer to dragons.
Somewhat in that they're
Mhm.
both reptiles.
I feel
with
like
sharp
it's a
teeth.
good direction for Blizzard to be moving.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw your
because
tweet.
I would like to see some dragons.
What?
I've been a very very strong supporter of this. I'm not necessarily I'm not the MF Pally time. I have to have Deathwing. I'm more open. I'll take Malagos. I'll take Alexstrasza. I'll take Ysera. I'll
But not
take
Chromie?
Chromie's not a dragon. She's not a dragon.
I mean, she
as
is.
far as
Dragon.
Heroes is concerned, she is not a dragon.
Uh,
I've gotten into many arguments about
So-
this. She is a freaking gnome. She is not a dragon.
How-
Give me a freaking dragon.
How would you feel if, Deathwing, Alexstrasza, Sarah came out and they were in their human forms with their dragon abilities? Like Chromie.
See, I would feel very disappointed. I'd feel let down, especially after what Blizzard did with Ragnaros.
That's true.
It's
That is
like
true.
we can get a dragon. We can make it happen. You can make the model as big as Asmodan or Stitches or whatever, and I think people would be okay with it.
I'd be
like-
okay with it.
Because there was a screenshot on Reddit going around a little while ago of like the actual sizes of what they're supposed to be. And Asmodan is just so huge. He is
Yeah.
freaking gigantic. If you remember D3,
He's
Oh, yeah.
big.
but he's huge.
Takes
he's
up the top of the
absolutely
screen.
gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean,
Oh.
they could easily Ragnaros too.
Mm-hmm.
A size down dragon that was about that size would be in dragon form all the time. Would be super legitimate.
Yeah.
So now, do you mean to say that you want the dragon to ride on top of the raptor? Because this is
it should
getting
just
pretty reptilian.
be like Cho'Gall, and instead of riding it, it just has it like clutched under its claws, its corpse.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
how awesome would it be? It's like dinosaurs riding dinosaurs, or just it's
Is that a thing?
it is the new Total War Warhammer expansion adds the and I'm not people are whoever's Warhammer is gonna like hate me because I'm not remembering the reptilian race, but it's basically a race of lizards and they ride dinosaurs, so it's dinosaurs riding dinosaurs.
I take it back. This happens in Hearthstone too. You can cast
Oh.
Spike Ridge Steed onto any dinosaur as a paladin, and you've got a dinosaur riding a dinosaur. When
Okay.
it dies, you get another dinosaur.
Thank you. I feel more legitimate now.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Also, good point, Raffle. Brightwing is a dragon, and Arkiv says, dragon's a state of mind. It's very deep.
That is,
So you just got to be in the mindset of a dragon.
how do I
Lizard-
get
lizard-
in that state
You
of mind?
you can be a dragon if you want to be a dragon. Just get in that mindset. Okay, so next up on the table here, a little bit of a hot topic. A little bit. Battleground rotations are coming to the game. And this is something that has been requested along with other options. And rotations are the way they've gone. And what they're going to be, they're going to be reducing the number of maps in matchmaking modes from 13, which we are currently at, to 9. So I guess they were originally kind of thinking possibly 6, but that felt like too little. So they're sticking with the 9 here, and that's going to shift kind of mid-season for the Battleground rotations, which I do like that.
Right.
So 3 rotations per season.
Yeah. So 3 rotations per season, which is good to kind of, have people have a little bit bigger hero pools possibly and just keep things fresh. But what is your opinion on this, TBK? Because I feel like you got an opinion here.
I have some issues
Okay.
with this. First off, I don't why can't we just have all the maps in quick match?
Good point.
Quick match is quick match. Let's just it's the anything goes. Let's just leave it like that.
I agree with
Right.
that point.
So okay, so all the maps in quick match. I see zero reason why, because as they've already stated, they are already gating new players to Cursed Hall at first, and then a smaller subset of maps after that before opening it up to the whole pool. So we don't have to worry about the new player argument of just throwing them into the deep end. It's already gated, and they could even gate it a little further. So give me everything in quick match. There's no reason. Second, Hero League unranked. I would honestly like to see the map rotation match up with HGC.
Yeah.
Right. Just to be completely honest, because those are what we're watching the pros on. So why should I be, or why should the pros or the ranking stuff, why should I be playing maps that the pros aren't even playing in HGC? It just kind of makes sense in a lot of ways to sync up. And I think were you going to ask how often they're changing?
In HGC, how often do they change?
I think they're doing it mid-phase. I think.
Okay.
I don't know if they've announced that or not. So that would be 2 rotations per. So that'd be 1 season with 1 rotation, and then the next season with another rotation, I think.
So not nearly as many, technically.
Yeah.
No.
So I can understand both ways on that a little bit. And then also on the quick match thing, I would like to see him in. One of the reasons of potentially having this in quick match as well, because they talk about being able to take maps that are out of rotation to work on them, update them, improve them. So maybe that's
They've
why
done
take it out
before.
But
like,
you
in
could
my
just
mind,
take it
you
out
just
of.
take the one out.
Yeah.
Take out the one problem child, like you did with
exactly.
Out of
1 at a
Nine.
time, 2 at a time, and as Chad is saying too, I wouldn't mind all the maps in unranked either.
Mhm.
But the only argument against that is unranked is what prepares you for ranked. So maybe you should have the same maps in unranked and ranked. You could go whichever way. At the very least, I would argue for everything in quick match. But I do think I would like to see a little more syncing up of maps between the HGC side and the pro side, and maybe we need to rotate the maps between splits, right?
Maybe.
So you've got phase one, and you've got the first half of phase one and the second half of phase one. Then you have phase two, and you have the first half of phase two and the second half of phase two. That's 4 map rotations per season. That doesn't sound too terrible. And we keep that same rotation in ranked play and match it up with HGC.
So that's 4 rotations per HGC season, not
Not
ranked
4
season.
rotations per 4 rotations per HGC season.
I don't hate it. The other problem with if there's a desynchronization here between HGC and the regular map pool is that if we're watching a game on HGC that we can't actually go in and replicate, we might see a really cool new strat. Like we might be in there going, "Oh man, I like how they rotated between these lanes. They picked up the camp. Their timing is perfect. They're playing really well." I may even have a full 5 team ready to kind of simulate these same things and get a little edge on my opponents in serious hardcore team league, and I can't because I can't play the map. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's
And XXL Epic points this out in chat too. They don't necessarily have to take them out of rotation to work on them. Like, why do you need to take it out of rotation to work on it? You could work on it in the background and leave the current version in rotation. I don't think, and some people would probably disagree, I don't think any of the maps are so broken that they need to be out of rotation. Some people might argue Blackhearts or Garden or, Warhead or something. Like, because Braxis, Warhead, Blackhearts, and Garden and Mines seem to be probably the least favorite in general, right? But I don't think any of those are so bad that they couldn't work on those on the side and leave the current version in rotation and then just be like, okay, PTR, there's a new version of Blackhearts out. Go check it out. It'll be on there for a few weeks. We'll tweak it a little bit. We'll get some feedback. We can go back to the drawing board some if we need to. We can put it live if it's a thing, or if just work on the maps that aren't in the HGC rotation. Leave everything in quick match because it's quick match. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Let quick match be quick match. Let's get all the maps, and then the maps that you don't like shouldn't be in the ranked and HGC rotations, right? Because you don't want those unbalanced or problem child maps in your highest level of play. So work on them while they're out of that rotation. I don't know. I think there's a lot they can do better than this or make tweaks to this.
Yeah, and there has been a lot of feedback on this. So we'll see, and I'm sure they're going to test it out for this next season at least. We'll kind of see what changes or if they make any changes to it going on from there, because there have been a lot of people with thoughts. Thoughts have been had on this current
they
topic.
have.
All right. So as we announced, Diva, the Diva patch was this last Tuesday here. So Diva has entered the game along with a lot of the hero changes we discussed last week. One thing I wanted to mention here coming out with this Diva patch is I found this from Bakery's tweets, and it's a really cool thing. And I don't know if you guys know if they've done this for any past heroes, and I just didn't know about it.
I think this is the first.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a hero spotlight page that has the video, a little bit on the hero, and then it has some nice little talent highlights. It hits on 3 talents, kind of discusses what they do, and it gives, works well with, struggles against. And it's a nice little page for, people who don't necessarily dig into, we used to use heroes counters a lot and things like that. This isn't player voted. This is, Blizzard's, which I'm actually kind of surprised they're doing that, because from the summit and stuff we talked about, they don't like to influence players' thoughts. So them coming flat out and saying, oh, this player is good against these or bad against these is interesting. But it's not a ton of information. But
Just kind of gets your mind going in the right direction on some of these. Yeah.
if you're a casual player, it's not going to be an overload for you. It's just going to be some helpful little tips or information for you hopping onto a new hero.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
It's kind of a cool little thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's useful for new players.
Yeah,
at the very least, if they want to check out what might go good or what it might be strong or weak against, maybe talent highlights, that type of thing.
For sure.
Some of these are decent points that, I mean, I don't think you have to be a new player to appreciate fully. Like, I mean, I hadn't thought about necessarily the root interaction with Malfurion, stopping her in her tracks during the boosters. Like, that could be pretty serious. Now, you'd have to be a pretty good Malfurion to aim it in the exact spot she's going for, especially with how quickly she can turn. But, you know, I like this. It's a little bit of extra work on Blizzard's part, too, which you got to always appreciate, you know?
Yeah. So, speaking of D.Va, now that she's in the game here, Multi, I know you said you have been enjoying her. So, what's your thoughts on her? You think she's gonna be pretty strong? What do you think? Have you been playing her as a main tank, kind of off tank?
I've been kind of playing her as an off tank. I tried to apply some of the same philosophies behind playing her in Overwatch, in that yes, you can save your boosters as an escape, but you can also use it to wrap around the enemy team and get super aggressive. And that happens at Overwatch quite a bit. That's kind of her role, is to off-put the enemies and give them something else in the other direction to fire at, simply, so that you can just open up the rest of your team to collapse on the enemy team from there. And you can do that in Heroes too. Like, that's the most fun for me about this entire thing. I had a game actually this morning. I woke up, I put out the dogs and did all that stuff, and as I was getting ready for work, I had a half hour I could squeeze in a game, and man, like, it was going back and forth so much. But the way I started turning it around was I was up against a Morales comp, and it was an actual 5-stack, which at 7:30 in the morning Central Time, kind of weird time to 5-stack, guys. Really weird. I'm not even awake normally at that time. Anyway, so but we did beat them because, in part, I was just diving right in for that Morales, wrapping around, nudging her up a little bit, especially with that talent that doubles the knockback on her just general boosting. And just, she was so out of position, and then you can get on there and you can slow her with the bunny hop and stuff. So, like, it's just, she plays so much like D.Va does in Overwatch that, again, I think it's another brilliant port over, even with the 2 new heroics. But on top of that, she's just fun. And I think my favorite thing about her, honestly, is the auto attacks. They're different from pretty much anything we've seen previously. You get that little marker of where they're going to hit, and it's great wave clear, great harass, and just cool. I just like the smooth movements that she has too.
Okay, TBK, how about you?
So, Multi, I kind of want to ask you this and see if you felt the same way. For the auto attack, does it seem like you can't actually target at max range, but you have to get a little closer? But
I think you have to be in the box or close enough to.
It's a little weird.
I am
because it feels like the
canceling
range is further than when if I click on a minion at the edge, she moves in closer, and then the actual gun shoots behind the minion at the edge. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. Like the actual attack range
it's
is
like in the
further
middle.
Than when I click. Yeah,
she moves.
It starts the click in the middle or something. It's weird.
It is weird. I just know that once you get the shots going, you can kind of follow your hitbox.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And that's key to wave clear and everything. I mean, just trying to get the most minions in the spray or whatever you're trying to do at the moment. So
yeah, and she can hit
there's
most of a wave all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
as well. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of a weird. There's a few weird interactions, and that was kind of one. And then canceling your Q when you're boosting is another weird interaction.
Got because a little delay on it.
It's a really annoying delay. Yeah. Because I can boost and hit somebody, and then I have to like flit around them a little bit before I can actually stop and start shooting them while I'm just taking damage. And so that's kind of annoying as well.
You can cancel with another Q, but yeah, there's that moment in which you're trying to readjust. She has to. I think the animation is she has to land, and then you can start firing. So yeah, there's an awkward moment in there.
Yeah,
for sure.
It definitely feels a little awkward. Pilot mode is actually much stronger than I initially thought.
Yeah.
And a lot of times after I am out of mech, I will stay in pilot mode for longer than normal just because of the damage that I can put out single target, which is actually much higher, even though the mech is AoE. And so you are more vulnerable in pilot mode, but you can actually put out a lot more damage.
I will disagree with that completely. Hop straight back in that mech as long as it's a safe moment to do so, because you get your second health bar back. You can be working on the self-destruct again as opposed to just call mech. Like for me, and honestly, that's how you do it in Overwatch too. When you're out of the mech form, to me personally, it's all just about getting back in at ASAP. Which interestingly,
have big shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have big shot, you can make something out of that. But
I think it's gonna be interesting just because you have the option, the choice to make just depending on how a team fight's going. Because in some team fights, you may get the team down to, especially if you're duo tanking with her, do what needs to be done in your mech, and then when you hop out, it's you have the advantage of being able to put out more damage to help wipe the team, or it's maybe things aren't going so well, so you need to get back in that mech and have that second tank to turn the team fight.
Sure, and I like playing with it a little bit too because, like I said, like just numbers wise, your single target damage is like decently higher in your pilot form than in your mech form, and there is a small delay on the call down mech, so you have to make sure you account for that. But a lot of ways, I use pilot form sometimes as bait, because from at least what I've found, and I can't fully confirm this because my mech hasn't died again that fast. It seems like when you, like, let's say I get hurt in pilot form, and so I'm just kind of kiting them, I'm kind of shooting them, they're hurting me some. I call down mech, I get my full health bar back, and just continue the fight. I think that if the mech blew up again,
you have
quickly,
half health.
I would have full health again.
Is it full health?
I thought it generates once you're inside.
I don't know.
This requires some science of the storm.
Yeah, I've never died that fast in my mech again to find out. But every time I've been at full health again in pilot form.
Okay.
I will say this though: when you're in pilot form, I find it interesting that you can recharge so fast just shooting at minions and such. In fact, there was one point where I was at, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 seconds left for call mech, and there wasn't much going on. I didn't feel safe stepping out in lane. So I literally just went to a merc camp and just started shooting the dude. Just started unloading on one of the giants, and it charged me back up. I mean, I got to like 3/4, maybe half health with just taking a couple of shots, but didn't matter. I was back in the mech. So
yeah, she's very glass cannon. Honestly, when she's in pilot mode, it's surprisingly high damage, and I think
not too much either, because you have to kind of overextend yourself. You're like a Nova without the range,
But
you don't have the escape. So
XXL Epic is pointing out here. Apparently, according to Cavalier Guest, he showed it's the third highest DPS on Immortal, at least for Battlefield of Eternity, which is very interesting.
In pilot mode.
The pilot mode, wow.
It's like I said, it's surprisingly.
It's a high rate of fire with decent damage.
Especially if you have Big Shot, which is why Big Shot is a very, very viable ult. Even if you've got a mech, because it's almost like the old Tychus Odin ult, where you have that second health bar on demand with just that tiny delay. So you have to, again, make sure that you stay safe. But if your team is pushing, or if you can shoot safely, sure, you're not getting self-destruct charge, but you are putting out more single target damage if there's a focus target. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then self-destruct is not at all what I expeced.
It was super hard too.
It is a zoning tool. It's a zoning tool. I've found that if you want to even have a chance of hitting anybody with it, because it is a 4-second delay before the explosion goes off, which in Heroes basically means eternity.
Or a mosh pit.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've found that Q-ing, where you hit your Q first and then you hit your E and your boosters keep going, and you can kind of direct it and drop it about where you want it. is really good, especially if you can do it from max range to where you want it, because that will kind of take up some of the explosion time.
Gives them
on
less
the way
time to
over.
react.
Exactly. But any hero, unless they are super locked down, can get out of it or get to the edge of it easily before it goes off.
But that's the beauty of it, because that's how it is in Overwatch. In Overwatch, it's a zoning tool as well. So as like a port over, that part actually carried over perfectly. Actually, in Overwatch, you can dodge the entire thing, line of sight in any kind, including light poles. Fun fact.
If you think about it, though, it's very interesting, even just using it as zoning, because that's going to be huge on certain maps for bosses, like Hanamura. That's going to be big.
Temple.
Battlefield of Eternity, even just throwing that on your, around on your mech, would keep the melee out for 4 seconds while you do work on theirs. I
could see some cool boss steals happen where you come up on a team that's kind of got it at half health and just chuck it in and go.
So it's really cool, and I think we'll see
got a lot of potential,
a healthy amount of both.
I think it's going to take a little while to learn how to use it right.
Yeah,
because it's at least all the games I've seen so far, I've only seen I've played as and against D.Va in probably 10 games so far, and I've seen 2 kills off of self-destruct total.
I've done it. It was a Sergeant Hammer that stayed informed, but I have done it. Don't know why you didn't hit your Z key, my friend,
it'll be interesting. And we're gonna, of course, go over a build next week, and so we'll have a lot more thoughts, of course, on it then. But yeah, she's got a few quirks, but I think overall she's a super fun second tank. She has no CC, and so
there's that.
I can't call her a main tank. I can't condone you just playing her as your only tank. I'm sorry. TVK does not condone this. But and defense matrix is really interesting too. Yeah. Because you actually have to have it on the hero that's doing the damage.
Right. And you can't turn once it's going. So
exactly. So I think someone was saying if you wanted to negate the pyroblast damage, you would have to have your defense matrix on Kael'thas when pyroblast hit.
Yeah.
Since the damage is coming from him. So it's very interesting, and it'll open up, I think, a lot of potential really cool things. But it is hard to use.
Yeah. I do agree. She is another one of those heroes that I'm really kind of going to have to work at, I think, to get her. She just doesn't click for me yet, which is okay.
Oh, she clicked for me instantly.
There's been several heroes that Genji was like that for me. Was super hard for me at first, but he's one of my favorite heroes to play now. So we went over the Alarak to Haka Tyrande changes last week, but there were some slight tweaks to those. Real quick on Alarak, sustaining power, which is now a level 16 talent. The bonus healing increased from 25 to 40%. Extended lightning, which is level 1 or level 4 talent, which is one of the quests. Enemy heroes hit with the center portion of lightning surge are slowed by 40% for 2 seconds. This is the second portion of his quest for hitting 15 heroes with the center portion. And then on another level 16 talent now, negatively charged. It's increasing the bonus damage from the center portion of lightning surge to 150. And the quest, each time you hit the enemy hero with the center portion of lightning surge, increase the center damage bonus by an additional 3%. So pretty neat stuff there. And then Tyrande, Huntress Fury trade at 7. They reduced the splash radius by 33%. About 33.3%. 0.3. Repeating, of course.
Right. And they did fix the levels as well, the portrait levels. So you actually see the entirety. You don't have to guess anymore and add the square root of 2 plus the portrait color hex code with the diamonds.
You don't have to open a cryptex anymore to figure it out.
It just says it.
Just nice.
It says it now.
It's good.
It makes it that fixed everything. It really did.
It really did. And they also fixed literally the most annoying bug that I've had the
Nubarak?
past
Oh.
the past
Oh.
like two months or however long it's been in. Fixed an issue causing abilities to fail when quick casted over the minimap with right click through minimap option enabled.
Yeah, I think it was
This
actually
destroyed me.
I think it was last week's post game maybe that you even had that issue. I remember playing with you last week and you were like, "Dang it."
Yep. Yeah, like I was trying to cast a hook or something like that, and my mouse, and it was just over in the right, and it just doesn't work. And I quick cast just about everything, so that was a huge bug fix, I know, for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's
It was
good.
very annoying.
All right. So make sure you guys get in there. If you guys have any specific Diva builds or anything you're digging, feel free to send them to us. We, of course, are going to go over a build next week, which will be fun to do. But we're going to take this time to kind of get into the latest on HGC. Okie dokie, TBK. What do we got? We got the Crucible coming up. We got the mid-season brawl coming up.
So much cool stuff coming. Like the next 2 weeks is going to be big, super big, big. I just lost my train of thought completely.
It's so
That's how
big.
big
you
it
just
is.
couldn't
It's going to be big
comprehend.
though.
It's so big it derails trains.
It's so big. NA Crucible, the HGC Open, completed last night, Tuesday night, and ran until 4 a.m. in a best of 5. Just absolutely ridiculous. There's even a nice Reddit thread right now complaining about HGC Open stuff, and there's a lot of really good points. It's been a little bit sidelined compared to the mainstream HGC, and it showed up even more so in last night's games, which I actually was able to catch some of, because the 2 reigning champions who were looking for more esports and UCA were taken out by Even in Death and Imported Support. And these are the teams that had done super well the entire way through, and a single series kept them from going to the Crucible.
It's
just rough.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is that feels bad, man, for sure. And so that's part of what the controversy is about. But regardless, this is what we have right now, and Imported Support and Even in Death are very good teams and did a really good job. So now, Even in Death, I believe, is number 1. They won the tiebreaker. It was went up to game 5 last night, and so they get to decide if they want Naventic or No Tomorrow.
Ooh.
In
So there was a lot
best
riding
of
on
7
that.
showdown.
That
Totally
is
changes
huge
up their
deal.
preparation and everything. Yeah,
that's a
huge deal.
big.
tough decision too, because even though Naventic has been playing not great, as somebody coming in trying to get into HGC, if you throw the gauntlet down and say, hey Naventic, we're choosing you, I imagine A, that's going to get Naventic super fired up, and B, those are still some really big names on that team. Like that's
Sure.
really
I
intimidating.
feel like No Tomorrow is probably the weaker of the two when it
In part
comes
because
down
of
to
that.
it.
Yeah. But
So
even they're still a decent team. I don't know how it's going to go down. And they are going to be fighting for their lives just the same. I mean, it's the salary and the prestige that goes with it,
yeah, no, and I think that's what's going to make watching these Crucible games super interesting.
Oh yeah.
Because I think I don't think anything's been like schedule-wise officially been announced, but I would assume we'd see like just like the HGC we're seeing like one day a Europe one and then an NA one and then the other Europe one and the other NA one. I don't know if they'll do them all in one day or if they'll split it over 2 days. It probably would make more sense to split it over 2 days.
With
I
it
would
being
think.
best of 7.
With it being best of 7. So we'll see. I'm sure they'll be announcing all the specific details and casters and all that stuff coming up soon. But it's going to be really crazy. I'm very excited to watch that. And then from the pro side, the playoffs for the midseason brawl are coming up this weekend. And this is going to be like a ladder format. So like the bottom teams will have to play up through each other to get to the higher seeds. And so the higher seeds don't have to win as much. So like from the NA side, B-Step and Freedom will play, and then the winner of that will play Superstars, and then the winner of that will play Team 8, and then the winner of that will play Gale Force, and then the winner of that goes to the midseason brawl.
Yeah. So it's a step ladder.
Exactly.
It's so much easier to explain if you see the breakdown of it. So we'll of course have that in the show notes and everything. But yeah, if you ranked higher, you have an easier, or at least you have to play fewer games in order to make it mid-season brawl.
Yeah.
Which
so
makes
like B-Step and Freedom have the hardest road to actually qualify, because they have to go through Superstars, Team 8, and Gale Force, not to mention each other, to even do it. And that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot to get through. So it'll be interesting to see. And then on the Europe side, Playing Ducks and Tricked Esports will then, the winner of that will then play Team Expert, and then Team Dignitas, and then Team Liquid. And of course, Fnatic and Tempo Storm have already qualified because they got first seed. So a lot riding on this weekend, and all these teams have a chance, technically, to go to the midseason brawl. So that'll be really interesting. And then very quickly, we also probably should mention the No Tomorrow Team 8 game, which was probably the biggest in, at least from a unique standpoint, this weekend, because Dyrus, as we talked about, subbed in for Team 8 and did fairly well.
Yeah,
did really well. Actually. I mean, like you said, small hero pool, but I mean, I'm no snob. I like Leoric and Dahaka, and he played him well. And you know what? Like, I could tell too that despite any issues he may have had with learning the maps and all of that, his team fight presence was as good as anything I've seen. Really.
Yeah. He released kind of a little statement, kind of talking about his experience and stuff, and he had mentioned that he had played scrimmed with Team 8 against Tempo Storm like a week or so prior, which helped him not only in his Hero League climb, but also the fact, getting used to the shot calling. And he talked about how Glaurung was an incredible shot caller and made things really easy on him. So,
which is great. That's probably the exact type of shot caller that worked really well for him, just because of his limited experience and such. In some ways, I'm super surprised No Tomorrow did not target ban his hero pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Dredd was talking about that a bunch during, like, in between the games. Like, why don't they do that? But
because like you literally could have
it
his effectiveness if you took out Dahaka and Leoric.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
thought that was just kind of interesting to mention that they really didn't do that.
If No Tomorrow won that game, that round though, wasn't going to change anything, was it?
No,
like
in the standings.
Standings were set.
So, and I don't know if it carries over or not either to the next phase.
Going into this week, there weren't a lot of things that could have affected the standings.
So I almost wonder if it was
that could have moved were mid-level.
Yeah, I almost wonder if it was a thing, kind of just like, hey, let's let this guy experience the game, like a respect thing.
Maybe. That's that. I mean, it could be. It could be. It was just kind of something I noticed. I thought it was weird.
I'm gonna say it would have been real feel bad if like they do that and then Dyrus looks absolutely awful on stream which I'm sure he probably wouldn't have. I'm sure he could, pick up another hero, but who knows?
You said he played some Sylvanas too, right? You could just throw that in. It'd be all right.
Yeah, I'm sure he played other ones, but those were by far his most played. So yeah, it was just kind of interesting. It was a fun series though. It was kind of cool. I'm sure it gave him some really interesting insight. And he said he really enjoyed Heroes a lot. Good. And it's something that he's going to continue playing off stream and potentially even in a limited amount on stream still too, which is really cool. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do agree. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up there. And it is going to be more heroes than you can handle. Again, coming up shortly. But let's go ahead and get on to this new guide into the game. I don't know where he came from. It's pretty weird.
Hero of the Week.
All right, Newther, the evil brother of Uther, has entered the game. I don't know. But we decided to do a Hero of the Week on him again just because of his rework. And, man, I feel like he was one of the first heroes we ever did. Way back when.
He's probably pretty early.
It was before his like multi-button piano thing. No, maybe it was right when it started.
We did the piano build for his build. I remember this specifically.
Yeah. It's interesting because we used to be able to. We almost had a Hero of the Week every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, early on, because
we had to catch up.
Yeah, because we had to catch up. But these days, there's so much news coming out and so much to talk about that it's sometimes almost hard to fit in new builds and stuff. So I'm glad we were able to finally get this guy in because he is a ton of fun.
Yes. And he's very different here. And the build we're going over, there's a lot of really good talents. This build is one that I've thankfully been playing most of. But he can feel very different depending on what you go.
I have to mention this because about a week ago, I just posted on Twitter. I was like, all right, guys, give me your Uther builds. And Bakery responds. And he said, anything, Guardian of Ancient Kings, anything, Redemption. I was like, okay.
There you go.
That sounds pretty awesome.
So,
all right, episode's done, guys.
Yep.
We covered it.
There you go. And actually, I was kind of ashamed to admit this. It took me a little bit to pick Guardian of the Ancients just because, I don't know, I was going Hand of Protection there, which we'll get to in a little bit. But there's not really a need to go through all of his abilities here, but it is worth mentioning his combat trait because that's where one of the big changes came from. It's now heroes healed by Uther's basic abilities gain 25 armor for 2 seconds. The effect does not stack with itself. And then, of course, still Eternal Vanguard, which is upon the death, becoming invulnerable for 8 seconds and can cast your Q. So all that healing stuff there.
Right. I should mention, too, this build is basically a build that really takes advantage of his trait.
Mm-hmm.
Just right from the level 1 that you start with, it makes we're working on making his trait better. And then it kind of built around that.
Yeah. Here's the weird thing about his trait, too. Like, it obviously has an impact, but it's really hard to feel, either as the recipient or the giver. At least to me. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about this a little bit later.
I totally agree.
But
yeah,
like it has its impact, but
there's a nice little symbol at least by the health.
There is.
I think multi that I agree with you because we still don't have a way to see actual armor values. Given to people, and I feel like it would feel a little more impactful for me if I'm seeing what I'm giving to people rather than just the little shield symbol that's very easy to miss for both the giver and the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially
we talked about before,
especially in solo queue situations where maybe your team necessarily isn't paying attention to what build you're going and what that armor value is. True. So
it becomes weird too. I just want to throw this in real quick as well because like. When I would play Uther previously, a lot of the times I'd just kind of wait and top my friend off in the lane, like after all the damage went out. But now it seems like almost the correct way to get the most value out of it is to heal them maybe a little earlier than you used to and get some devotion on too.
Yeah.
Get some extra value out of it.
Okay.
Anyway, go on.
So let's go ahead and hop into the build here. TBK for level 1. What are we going to go with?
So for this one, we're going to go with Wave of Light, and this is a quest talent. The quest is to damage or heal heroes 60 times with Holy Radiance, which is your little W shooty light AoE.
It's a frisbee.
It's a wave of light.
It's a wave of light. Thank you, Greg. It is a wave of light.
That's probably the best way to describe it.
Light wave thingy.
Was it Dread who was calling it a frisbee? I'm on the frisbee train now.
The frisbee train. Okay, we'll call it a frisbee.
But
It's a light frisbee. That you can't go recover after you throw it. So you have to get a new light frisbee every time. But anyways, so if you damage or heal a hero 60 times with it, you will increase the duration of devotion by 1 second. And this is huge because this goes from 25 armor for 2 seconds to 25 armor for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is it's very noticeable from a healing and damage taken type perspective. And since you can technically hit your entire team with this, depending on how people are lined up, it can be extremely impactful.
If they're lined up perfectly, you can hit your entire team and their entire team.
Yeah.
Whew, that'd be
It's full
crazy.
value.
That'd
be crazy.
At that point, you should be playing Alarak, though, and getting the most out of his move.
I will mention this. If you are playing solo queue, even if you're not an Uther, you have an Uther on your team, beginning of the game, check what talent they're getting. Obviously, it's always good to keep in mind like your positioning for Wave of Light, but especially if they're going this talent, kind of keep that in mind on that early team initiation and stuff to try and help him get as many stacks as possible will be huge.
And even more so because this talent also gives you a passive where damaging or healing heroes with Holy Radiance refunds 8 mana and reduces its cooldown by 1 second. So this is absolutely essential to, like, sometimes I'll even say before the game starts, if I'm taking this, I'll say, guys, when I ping myself, try and line up a little bit. For heal.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Have like a trigger for them.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's several seconds and several dozen mana refunded if I can hit 2 or 3 people.
Can you Alt G? Can you self ping with that?
I don't know if I've ever tried.
I've never tried.
I just usually hit
anyone in chat
like myself.
I wonder if that would work.
But it's especially as a healer, if you have talents like that. Karazim is another example. A lot of times if I'm a Karazim, I'll say, hey guys, when I ping myself, group. Because
stack for a heal.
Yeah, stack for heal. And that makes it really easy because then they know when I ping myself, okay, he's gonna heal.
Everyone gets straight and stiff and lines up.
That's right. Get in line.
Single file, please.
I'm going to make it something more interesting. Like every time I do the Uther dirt face emote, line up. I don't know. All right, so level 4 here, Multi, what are we going with?
Level 4, we're going with Holy Fire, although I kind of disagree. I mean, it's definitely a situational tier in general. But anyway, for those of you who don't recall, Holy Fire is the one where you deal 16 plus 4% per level damage per second to nearby enemies. And then basic attacks against the enemy heroes increases this damage by 20% for 3 seconds, which can stack up to 3 times. So definitely solid. And I mean, there are certain maps in which this really, really is a good thing. I'm thinking like Infernal Shrines, where you want just another tiny thing to help clear out those little guys. Or, I mean, I had Haunted Minds game earlier that had a similar effect. So, I mean, I like it for sure. My personal favorite, though, is the Pursuit of Justice. Hammer of Justice now increases Uther's movement speed by 20% for 3 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot. But the things you're doing on Uther, I mean, for one, you have to close the gap to get your stun off in the first place, which sometimes you're kind of overextending yourself, and you want to reset back to the back line. It helps a lot with that. It also helps with your positioning for doing things like, I mean, he's pretty sturdy still, especially now that you get that self-heal off of your Q. So, I mean, you can drop this on one guy, body block another. You can kind of get in there and swing with some auto attacks and stuff. So,
yeah,
I'm a fan of that.
Because he is fairly sturdy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's fairly sturdy.
Like we said, I mean,
and as a plate wearer, he should be.
Most of these talents are viable and absolutely easy to pick.
Yeah.
I do like Pursuit of Justice as well. It kind of, because that's almost mount speed for 3 seconds. Kind of being able to get in there, stun somebody. That speed helps you after you stun them to be able to get behind them and body block them after the stun, which is nice. Right. Level 7 here, we are going with Guardian of the Ancient Kings. This is the only viable one, according to Mr. James Baker, which is me. Hi, I'm James Baker. Healing a hero that is stunned, rooted, or silenced increases the armor bonus they receive from devotion from 25 to 75. It's
literally
75% damage reduction.
This is stunned, rooted, and silenced.
Yes, I was going Hand of
crazy.
Protection here because I'm like, oh, a cleanse, that's cool.
Why would you
Wanna
want to
do
do
that?
that? Right?
But especially in solo queue, that can be hard to use properly. It can be hard to use even if you don't play support much, period, to where this is just, you just heal the person. You don't have to predict when they're going to get stunned or try and save them from something. You can just let them get stunned and then take 75% damage reduction and still heal them. So it's incredible.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Because this works not only with your Q, but with your W.
Oh yeah,
And your
you can
W's
splash
AoE.
it on multiple people.
Yep.
Or you can use them in concert. You could, like, if there's a bunch of people in a route, you could drop that in there, throw your Q out at someone else. Like, you can get a ton of value out of this.
Yeah.
It's basically, it is hardened shield, but for anyone that you heal.
My team got moshed? No biggie. You guys
They'll
can
be
stand
fine.
there
Yeah.
for a little bit.
And if you finished your Wave of Light quest at level 1, that's 75 armor for 3 seconds.
Mhm.
Right?
Now,
Pretty.
I'd say
Pretty
it's
good.
pretty broken.
And I mean,
it's
in the
broken.
pro meta where you see a lot of these setups for people getting blown up in burst comps and all that, this is going to be this is a huge game changer.
It's anti-blow up.
Right.
That is
Yeah.
what this talent should be called.
I'm-
Guardian of the blow up.
And I keep saying this. I'm very surprised that it does it for all 3 of these status effects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The silenced one is kind of the big. Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess.
You could remove the silence and it would still be really, really good.
Yeah.
But with it, you're countering things like Twilight Dream. I needn't say more. There you go.
All right. Level 10 is just going to be situational. Of course, Divine Shield's still excellent. Divine Storm, also excellent now, as it always has been. But kind of, map, team comp.
Well, it's a
I
little
like
smaller than
Divine
it used to
Storm
be.
again. Yeah. But I've been picking Divine Storm.
I
a lot
definitely
again.
pick that if I'm in a dual support comp, or with like a Tyrande or a Tastar or something like that. If there's some other type of sustain, or if my team has good sustain in general, it's a big old AoE stun for almost 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's pretty
That's good.
sweet.
I like Divine Shield if there's a specific reason to. Like, say you're playing with a really aggressive melee character like Thrall or the Butcher.
A really
or,
aggressive melee character.
like Kerrigan or
you
someone.
have to
You
save.
get- yeah, exactly. Well, not necessarily save, but get value from. Like, Divine Shield them as the Kerrigan's jumping in there with Maelstrom Portal up and that sort of thing. So, I mean, or it's not Maelstrom Portal, is it?
It's Maelstrom.
I'm close. Maelstrom.
Maelstrom.
Maelstrom. Just straight up Maelstrom. Okay, cool. But yeah, so I mean, like, you can get value out of Divine Shield no matter what. But yeah, Divine Storm beats the heck out of Genji, for one.
I
They do not like that. The double stun.
I want a Kerrigan skin where she's like a teenage girl shopping, and for Maelstrom it becomes Nordstrom's, and
Oh, boy.
it's just a whole bunch of shopping bags and stuff going everywhere and clothes.
I like how
Nordstrom.
the trend just seems to be wanting Kerrigan to be a teenage girl. Because we've got the cheerleaders again.
Yeah, it's Nordstrom.
I mean, what more
it's
do you
Maelstrom.
want?
It's perfect. I don't know.
Oh.
I don't even know if is Nordstrom like a clothing thing. I have no idea. I just like
Probably.
you said Maelstrom and Nordstrom
Outfit
popped into my
store
head.
of Some kind.
Who
That
knows?
would be a very unique skin, Greg.
Just
It's a
just
very
for the
unique
ult.
skin.
Like you have to change the ult name
Just
too
for the
when you
ult.
have that skin. All right. Level 13 here, TBK. Where are we going?
So it in some ways it kind of depends. Spell shield is still really good if you're getting targeted or there's heavy mage damage. And then I kind of waffle between Well Met, which is one of the best talent names ever, and Blessed Champion. Because so you're a melee healer, so you're usually in melee. You're kind of tanky. Blessed Champion for the next 5 seconds after using Holy Light. Uther's basic attacks heal him and nearby allies for 15% of the total amount healed by Holy Light, which is fairly significant.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
And it keeps you in there auto attacking as well, which in
Mhm.
my mind you kind of need to do on him, because if you're just walking around as a heal bot, I don't know. I don't feel like you're fully doing everything you can. But anyway, go on.
And then you have Well Met, and this is really cool because it's basically Shrink Ray with a slightly smaller range on an 8-second cooldown.
Yep.
Not quite the value of Shrink Ray, of course, but it's still pretty awesome. So when used against heroes, Hammer of Justice reduces the target's movement speed and damage dealt by 25% for 3 seconds. So it not only stuns the person and then slows them, it also reduces their damage by 25%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It is.
It's pretty good, but being able to Shrink Ray on top of just your regular stun was pretty good too in the old piano build. So
Yeah.
But like I said, 8-second cooldown on that. Slightly shorter range because your Hammer of Justice isn't quite the range of what Shrink Ray was, but it can be very good if you have a hero that's diving in against one of your heroes, or like a Genji, even.
yeah.
But yeah, this is a great counter to someone trying to dive your backline. You just kind of hang around your backline a little bit, boom, hit them with the hammer. Now they're slowed. Now they do less damage.
Mm-hmm. All right, and level 16 multi.
16 is an interesting one as well, for sure. But we are going to go with Benediction. Kind of an old throwback to the piano build. You activate this to reduce the mana cost of Uther's next basic ability by 50, and then also its cooldown by 10 seconds. So it's kind of up to you how you want to use this. In my mind, I like getting the value out of the Q personally, but you could come up with arguments for either. Like if you're trying to get a bunch of people back really quickly in kind of a sustain type situation, maybe heal them back up for a big push, you could play it off your W. Or I mean, if you just desperately need a couple stuns in quick succession, you could use the regular Hammer of Justice with it too. But I mean, just in my experience on Uther, the Q is where it's at. I mean, especially now when you're also healing yourself with the Q too. Like if you're going for healing numbers, use that. So, but you do have to consciously think, okay, the Q has to be up. I'm going to activate this Q, wait a couple seconds, Q again, because reducing it by 10 seconds, I mean, does bring it down to 2. So you can get people back up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other good talents here. Tears Deliverance. Allies healed by Holy Radiance receive 40% increased healing from all sources for 6 seconds. I mean, again, yeah, okay, you aren't getting two Qs off, but the Q you get off is pretty huge.
And it scares... that talent scares me in the current double support meta that we're in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
double support. It's incredibly
it's all
strong.
Very scary.
Yep. Incredibly strong.
So, a good little talent tier there. And this reminds me of something. It's kind of annoying to me, and maybe there's a fix to it, and I just haven't explored the keybinds enough. Is there a way to? And I wish how this worked was just, oh, you got an activatable at this talent tier, it is going to be this number hotkey. Because on heroes where there are multiple activatables, if I ever deviate from that build, what I'm used to being my 3 is now my 2.
Sure.
Throws me off. Is there a way to just lock that?
So.
You can rearrange
keybinds?
it. You can rearrange it.
Can you just click and drag
All you
it?
do is just click and drag. Yep.
Yeah.
I think
So it
there's
just
a way
takes
to
a
set
second,
them
though.
out of game too. I'd have to look into this, but
It might be in the keybinds.
Clicking and
'cause they're
dragging
fairly.
Be a bad idea. I just never thought to try that. My bad.
yeah.
That's what I
think there's
normally
another
do.
way though, because you can actually change every individual ability to be either quick
Yeah.
cast or not, and I think somewhere in there's something to it. But yeah, I mean, typically it seems like people are just mostly moving it around.
Interesting. All right, and then level 20 here, we're going Redemption. So this is, of course, after you die and Eternal Vanguard pops. After Eternal Vanguard ends, you revive back to the Spirit's location with 50% max health, and that is on a 3-minute cooldown. So
It's just too good.
too good.
It's too good.
It's too good for late game when every death makes a huge difference, and when you have that up, it allows you to play more aggressive late game, and then die and then get the healing value, because all the heals from your Eternal Vanguard give you the trait as well, which is pretty crazy. And so then, boom, you throw out 8 seconds or whatever from your Eternal Vanguard worth of heals that you're healing up, giving armor, and then you pop back to life and can do everything again.
Plus,
It's too good.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. It's Flashlight. I was going to say if Tears Deliverance affect it, but that's Holy Radiance in the first place, so that wouldn't matter. But yeah,
Well, presumably, if you got your Holy Radiance off, and then died somewhat shortly after, I mean, you're a healing source with the flashes of lights. You got 6 seconds on that Tears of Deliverance, so I mean, it's a thing.
That is, yeah, true.
And I mean, Divine Hurricane and Bulwark of Light, the upgrades for the Divine Shield and Divine Storm are pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But this is just one of those tiers where there's just one talent that's so good, it kind of outshines the others, even though they're not bad.
See that new one though, Divine Protection. Devotion now stacks twice, and its duration is refreshed when applied. Granted, your cooldowns are so long, I guess, unless you're doing Benediction, where you're not applying it a ton. But I mean, does that stack with Guardian of Ancient Kings? Like, do they become? I mean,
the armor cap is 75.
Oh, okay, yeah, right, okay,
yeah. So
there's no point.
You can only get up to 75, but like I said, none of those are bad.
Mm-hmm. It's just,
but Redemption's just that good when death means so much late game.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain situations I could see myself taking Bulwark of Light. Like if we're, I don't know, 2-3 levels up, we've been winning every team fight. One more team fight's gonna win the game. Bam, 5 seconds stun, they're dead. But
same with Divine Storm.
Yeah. But yeah, so that is his, the build to try out to go based off his trait for all that sweet armor for your team. Your team will love you for it. It'll make healing easier on you. And if you have double support, you're going to be a pretty beefy team, to say the least. And it's pretty incredible. But yeah, do you think, because Uther, is he first pick, first ban now?
No.
By any means? For a support, is he banned very often for support?
No. He's in a non-coordinated team. He can be a hard solo healer.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't get the people lining up. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to get people to capitalize on your trait value from heals. He can be a solo support healer in a team environment, for sure, because you can coordinate that a little more. But his cooldowns are so long, and honestly, his mana costs are fairly high too. And so you can feel a little starved, or like, I can't heal you yet. You're going in too hard. I can't heal you because my cooldowns and stuff. So it's a little rough to solo heal with him in like a hero league situation.
Yeah. So
if I take him in that, I usually would take him if someone else picked Tyrande or Tastar or something like that.
What about whenever this patch is released for HGC? What do you predict?
He's definitely going to be ran, no question.
Yeah.
Especially
support
in
only,
this double support meta.
I think I would actually kind of like to pair him in a double support with Malfurion for the for the trait, and then as well as going Tears Deliverance. That makes Malfurion's Q to where like a tank frontline going in.
He's already been in HGC because this went live. With
I don't know. I don't know.
Alarak and Tyrande, I think, are going live this week. I'm not 100% on it, but I think the Diva patch is going to be played in the playoffs minus Diva.
Minus Diva, just like they did with Genji.
Gotcha.
I'm fairly sure. I'm not 100% positive, but I believe that's the case.
Yeah.
But we have seen a lot more Uther lately in HGC for sure.
But no, I imagine pairing with Malfurion, because Malfurion can put out some decent damage if you go damage build, and then Malfurion's Q on top of Tears Deliverance. If you throw that on like a tank that has that 6 seconds worth of 40% increased healing, even if you throw that on him topped off, that's a lot of healing over time that team has to get through before they're putting anything on him.
And I mean, even then, just the standard Hammer of Justice sets up T-ball for your entangling roots,
Yeah. And I mean, before the nerf, and it's still probably somewhat viable, Uther Lili combination was incredibly strong, because you could go damage builds basically on both of them and still have the sustain you needed between both of their heals, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah. So again, hop in there, try that out. Remember, a ton of these talents are amazing. So if you guys find a build that you like, feel free and send it in to us. I'd be very interested to hear what you all come up with. And yeah, do you guys have any last minute tips or anything? I feel like we kind of covered tips throughout pretty
Yeah, we did
pretty
pretty
well.
good. I hope.
The one big thing, Uther can actually make ETC viable, and that is because of the extra armor that you can get from him. Because
Oh,
right
yeah.
now ETC is we actually are not seeing hardly any ETC right now because of how squishy he is, and he does not do a ton of damage either. So we don't see him as a secondary tank a lot. But Uther can actually make up for some of his health shortcomings
Yeah.
with the extra armor, and of course the Divine Shield. If you want to do that, the age-old Divine Shield mosh pit combo, it can be very effective as well. But I miss it's a lot. I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people disagree with me. I miss my ETC though, because he was one of my favorite tanks. I love his play style, and I was very sad when they neutered him and kind of took away his trait and gave him just made him super generic-y.
So he's a steer now.
Yeah, he was he was my go-to warrior for sure. So.
He said they neutered him, so just saying.
Well played, sir.
Thank you.
But yeah, so check that build out. Have fun with him. He's a blast. TBK, what do we got for community content shout out this week?
More skins.
Yeah.
More user-created skins, and there's actually pretty cool ones in here.
Oh yeah.
These aren't just drawings. These are like done in game. It's just really cool looking. There's like Deathwing Brightwing skins. This like Arthas Anubarak skins. Eye of Cthulhu Probius, which is actually kind of cool.
The Herald of Void Gazlo, where he's like a warlock with the
so
Voidwalker
good.
behind him. So cool.
I think that's my favorite.
So
Honestly,
cool. And then
like-
there's stuff like Buddha's Madan, which looks interesting. But I like it.
I'll link this in chat too. Of course, we'll have it in the show notes. But no, I think the Herald of Void Gazlo needs to actually happen. Like that skin looks incredible.
Also, I want to give a shout out to one of our listeners in our Discord, Death Cree. Also had a whole bunch of skins. A lot of them were like StarCraft themed for non-StarCraft heroes, which were pretty cool as well. That you guys can check out.
There's been a lot of like really cool skin concepts popping
You
up.
have to think that Blizzard loves this. Like they have to be watching this stuff, at least for
I would hope
inspiration, right? If not straight up ideas.
Yeah.
Like
No, there's some fantastic stuff.
yeah.
Also, Masters Class episode 7 from this last week. Replay and some drafting and play. You can go see it and watch me fail at Falstad. It's
Wait,
slightly embarrassing. What?
did you guys say anything about Common Kid Lily?
No.
That is one of the
I was
most
trying
terrifying
to
things I've
ignore it.
ever seen.
I was trying to ignore it.
I was scrolling down fast and I couldn't scroll fast enough.
It's like Lily with a human face.
It's creepy looking.
It's
I mean,
super weird.
I want it for that reason, but
Okay,
yes.
sorry. I just that
No, that
wow.
I was just trying to ignore it because it's super creepy. Thank you for bringing it
Okay.
up, though, Greg.
I want that as a T-shirt.
And finally, I wrote up a big blog post on multi-class and quick match fixing, and some of this is kind of what we talked about last episode with our quick match type stuff. And then a lot of it is just kind of my thoughts on multi-class in general and where are we now and the issues we've had and potential fixes for future multi-class type stuff. Because I don't know about you guys, but I want more multi-class. Like,
Yeah.
I need more WoW. Like, give me the Shadow Holy Priest. Give me the Feral Druid. Like,
Yeah, I love that they delved
needs to
into
happen.
Holy Shadow Priest. just because that's always seemed like a class where you could pull this off in.
Yeah.
Because it's just the flavor of it is a class that does completely opposite things. I mean, they're channeling literally polar opposite forces within the Warcraft universe, the light and the void, and you could do a lot of cool stuff with that. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting whenever the next multi-class is released. Blizzard has said they're not going to be doing a ton of them in a row or anything like that, but variant's been out for a while now, and so it'll be interesting to see what the next one does end up being, because there's got to be more. They made its own classification system for him, so I highly doubt that he will be the only. They made a classification system for just one hero.
Oh yeah,
and just gonna leave it at that. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of design philosophy they come out with for the next one and what they've learned, and if they do any kind of quick match type fixes or implement suggestions like we mentioned last week, or I talk about some of the blog post for future iterations of quick match, and to help streamline multi-class into the game more from a matchmaking type perspective.
Okay. Very nice. And we have a lot of questions this week, and we got some time. We'll get to some of them here, and yeah. All right, Multi, why don't you read us this first question from Mr. XXL Epic?
XXL Epic wrote in and said, just simply, do you like Hanamura? What would you change about the map, or do you think it's perfectly balanced? I mean, I'll take a stab at it and say I love Hanamura. I think it's one of my favorite maps, possibly maybe even my favorite map, just stylistically. I think that the objectives are interesting and everything with like the merc camps and the different approach to those. I mean, there are probably some things that could be changed and tweaked. I would not go so far as to say really any of these maps are perfectly balanced. Maybe this one in particular, it's to me, it's that there's a lot going on for sure. Unless you're with a coordinated group and have really set out a plan, it's hard to know when exactly you need to rotate onto an objective, so there's that issue for sure. But as far as like, would I change some of these things about the map to make it simpler for people? Personally, I'm in the camp, no. I like having a lot of options and having a kind of chess game to play against my opponents. But what do you guys think?
So I don't. There's nothing that I would say necessarily change about it. I actually, the 7 health seems to be all right. I think it was XXL Epic who mentioned in chat earlier on in the show that when we were talking about rotations, about mines and this map being a map where you ignore objective and just push. I don't think I really agree with that. There are, doing that's a decision you can make to get your first few to be 2 shots, 3 shots, or whatever. But if you're just doing that, then you're giving the other team almost free 1 shots, which is one of the cool things about this map. It is, like you said, Multi, a big chess match, and which I still have not figured out, because I don't think this is a map where there's necessarily ever going to be, this is the thing you do. It's going to be, there are several things you can do, and okay, now the other team's doing this. Now there's only these things you can do, and kind of it's a give and take, active versus reactive map, which is really, really neat. There's a few things I don't understand, and maybe TBK, you know this. It seems like I don't understand the timers for when payloads come out. I feel like there's several times to where we get, first payloads come out at the same time. We escort our payload. We're able to keep theirs back. Then they eventually get theirs. And as soon as they get theirs, 10 seconds later, they have another payload. And it's another 30 seconds for us.
Yeah, it's not made clear how that works. It's based upon the turn-in of your last one. And both your 2 payloads are on different timers. So that's why it can really seem random, because it all depends on when you turned your last one in and the timing between having one out and another one in.
But
So sometimes if you turn in two near the same time, two can spawn close to the same time again. It's
that
like I said, it's not super clear
That
how it
doesn't-
works from an in-game thing.
that's how I assumed it worked. But that doesn't
Yeah.
really explain like this. So if that is the case, then we turned in our payload first. Our second one should be coming out first. But I'm running into instances where we turned ours in first. We're holding theirs off. They eventually get theirs in, and then they have the very next payload to spawn.
Yeah, because their second one spawns.
But our second one hasn't spawned
So
yet.
the timers work individually, right? Like
Yes.
Yeah, like our
when you turn
second
in the
one
first
should
And
one,
I don't
the
know
first
if
one's
there's-
timer begins.
And there might be some sort of
like catch up
like
thing. It seems
catch
like.
up or grace period with the second one, depending on if you're getting hold. I honestly don't know the specifics.
That's
because
something that
it
needs to be
is-
clear because that's something I wouldn't like necessarily. Is we've done a
Mm-hmm.
good job keeping them from escorting theirs. Now they're giving them a second one, to where it's easier for them to escort one and potentially two before we even have our second out. Feels a little weird,
Right.
But I
Like
understand
you're
there's
getting punished for doing well.
yeah, I understand there's a lot of people that have very strong feelings about this map and don't necessarily like it. I personally do like it. Like I like the challenge of it. It's probably not perfectly balanced, but it seems pretty good for me. And I honestly I can't wait to see this in to like create a lot of competitive games on this to kind of help me figure it out. So I don't know,
Right.
TBK, what about
If
you?
if the pros actually vote
Yeah.
for it in the book pool,
That's a good
which doesn't seem like it's super likely at this
Yeah.
point, but we'll see. I have mixed feelings on this map. I've had some of my best comebacks on this map and some of my most frustrating moments
Mhm.
on this map, as like dominating a whole bunch and then losing to just getting out pushed even though you're winning the team fight constantly. And it's interesting. I honestly I would probably add another shot or two to the map. I have of all the dozens of games I've played on it now, I have hit level 20 one time.
Yeah.
One time. And it in a lot of times it will end there's like a 50-50 chance it'll end before even level 16.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty crazy. And so there's really no late game on this map, or it doesn't feel like there's a late game on this map. And I feel like an extra shot or two would really help some of the timing issues and some of the push, because like keeps might as well be worthless.
Yeah.
I've seen one keep taken once.
Right.
Like they're worthless. There's zero reason to have keeps right now on this map. So that's kind of something I would change. I do like the amount of strategies that are present on the map, like the different things you can do. The merc camps are kind of an interesting thing. The turret is pretty sweet. The heal thing. It's an incredibly hard map to understand from a solo queue perspective, and it's very hard to coordinate, which makes me not like it as much somewhat, because you can do some really cool stuff when you're in a team or a 5-stack or something like that,
Right.
from a strategy perspective. But a lot of times, even still, it's been out for several weeks, even still in solo queue or just with another person, it feels a lot like chickens running around their heads cut off
Mm-hmm.
type play style. And
Herding cats.
if you push, you push. If like someone's gonna go push that payload, their whole team came to defend. Our whole team went to push, even though only 3 people can actually get the speed on it. No one's soaking this. No one's grabbing. Sometimes merc camps like are literally completely ignored,
Mm-hmm.
like never
Yeah.
touched the entire game.
Even though they give
depending on
so
the
much
comp.
experience. But
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
think
it's such, there's just so much to do, which, like I said, in a team-based environment is kind of cool, but on the other side, it can be overwhelming, I think, and a little much for a lot of gameplay scenarios. And like I said, it doesn't usually ever go to 20 and keeps are worthless. So I don't know. I'm very mixed.
I think I mentioned it last week how after a new player's first 5 games, this is instantly in the rotation. Hopefully that new thing will fix that. But yeah, this is not a map where any new player needs to be playing. And I think Blizzard's probably learned an important lesson from this map when it comes to the strategy and the reactions from, solo perspective versus team perspective. And I hope that doesn't scare them off from people's reactions as far as the creative aspect for future maps, but just kind of maybe bringing it in when it comes to keeping in the solo experience.
I think they threw the kitchen sink at it and then kept everything and the kitchen sink in it instead of doing some strategic trims.
Yeah.
Because most people don't know, if you take the keep, then the siege minion that spawns is actually a siege minion that does a shot to the core if it makes it all the way through.
Yeah.
Right.
But most people don't know that.
Yeah.
Because they've never seen it. That's a complete mechanic that is never getting used.
Mm-hmm.
Or so rarely that
it doesn't even matter. Yeah.
And it's really weird because when we played this at the summit, it was hard because none of us had ever played it. But at the same time, we were all able, for all day, we were getting in different groups of people with, casters to streamers and stuff and discussing strategy. And then, when we were playing right next to each other so we could kind of call out some stuff. So we didn't really have the perspective of necessarily, it didn't really cross my mind of this is going to be what it is in solo queue with no communications. So it's, I'm sure there's some things that can change to it, and who knows, with their new system, rotations and stuff, I'm sure they'll probably make changes to it eventually. What those will be, who knows? We'll see. TV or Multi, how about from Naraki?
Naraki writes something I think we've touched on a little bit previously, but will Tyrande stop being a support with all of her damage? I think it was last week we touched on this a bit more, but no, she's definitely leaning more on the damage side. But she still has heals. You can still time your stuns and set up plays and do all that good stuff. So you just have more that you can do with terms of damage.
Yeah, I do think it'll be potentially maybe more. I don't know how much solo Tyrande we'll see from it. I had kind of been on the line of this of maybe her just being more of an assassin, but TBK, after going through patch notes last week, pointed out that some of her even damage talents with the attack speeds and things like that, she can still put out a lot of healing. So I don't know
through that.
So it'll be very interesting.
She's just in a weird spot. It's the same Tassadar spot where they don't have the classification system in the game right now that they need, other than behind the scenes.
Yeah.
To kind of, I would call her utility.
Yeah.
She's utility. She brings some damage, she brings some healing, but she's not what I would necessarily consider a solo support, but she's not a full-on assassin.
She's 98% assassin.
Yeah. So Blizzard just doesn't have the classification system.
But they do have it on the back end, right? Like when it comes to matching.
From a quick match
matchmaking standpoint, which is great. That's something we've been asking for forever for these heroes. So
it'll still get better, but
yeah, it could get. But
yeah, you won't get dropped a Tyrande versus like an Uther. I don't believe anymore. I think if I recall correctly, they have Tyrande and Tassadar in their own little sub pool.
Yep. Yeah. That was the plan, so that you don't hit that situation. Because that's how it used to be. Like if you queued as Tassadar, you were up against a healer almost every time, and you were often behind on that one. So yeah, they fixed it.
All right. And since Draven's question is still going to be relevant next week, and I need to list more quotes, we'll do that one next week.
There's a lot. That's a long video.
There is definitely a lot.
It's favorite diva quote. And there are so many of them.
Yeah.
They're good. They're great.
There's so many good ones.
So we do have a question from Dagome, which has a pretty kind of short answer-ish. Multi, do you want to read this, or do you want me to read it?
Are you going to read it word for word like he wants you to?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can knock it out.
Okay. Dagome, this is for you. Does blocking communications with the player here? Does blocking communications with the player after Hero League game prevent me from being matched with them again in the future? I doubt Blizz would allow the algorithm to team me up with a player I can't and don't want to talk with. I have a feeling that this might be an unannounced feature. I would understand why Blizzard would not want to admit or deny its existence, but I am hoping this is a feature. I started blocking people I'm certain I do not want to be teamed up with. Win or lose, I don't care. Just don't want a toxic in my Bronze Hero League. Anyone doing this already? Have Blizzard ever talked about it? Your thoughts? So this is, this I believe became kind of a discussion point whenever the mute button became a feature in the first place of people asking this. And I don't believe it is implemented. And actually, you can tell. I feel like I've been matched up with somebody I've muted before, and just when you get matched up again, they're still muted. Like when you hit tab, you can see that.
As far as I know, and I think this either is or was a feature in Overwatch, where when you blocked somebody, you wouldn't get matched up against them. And so during the beta, people were blocking a whole ton of people.
Yeah.
And their queue times started getting super long.
Well, actually, it was down rating. Like you could rate people
down
in the match, and if you rated them poorly, you cut down on your own selection in your pool.
And this is actually, it's Dagome's in chat. So in the email, it says blocking communications. So this is just muting somebody, which I would not take them out of your system. I do believe
reporting.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. I thought there was something.
Anything currently in game, to my knowledge, I don't think anything currently in game will keep people that you report or block or ignore from being matched up with you again in the future.
I could have sworn there was a long time ago an announcement that there was like a less chance, but it wasn't like a guarantee. Like it wasn't like a,
like we can maybe try and check on this. But as far as I know, I don't believe there's anything that will 100% keep you from getting matched again with somebody you've reported, muted, or blocked.
Yeah, because you have to be careful with that because, say you block somebody, they're having a bad day. Yeah, they were a dick. You don't want that person to end up having longer queues for some reason if a bunch of people blocked them that day. At the same time, though, if somebody is just a dick, they're not having a bad day. The better course of action would probably be, hey, ban this person's account for a few days or a week or so, and then when they come back, hey, that was your warning, keep it up, whatever, we'll block your account. As opposed to, instead, this person, if they want to play the game, is just going to have longer queue times because everyone hates playing with them, and that is what it is. And I don't know, people probably have different opinions on that, but I'm just trying to think of from the perspective of being the blocky versus the blocker.
Personally, if I block somebody, I probably don't want to play with them again.
Yeah.
From a personal perspective.
As in report or...
Well, reporting does
mute.
block.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
If you put a report in, it blocks someone. So if I block someone or I put a report in, I personally would like it so that the system wouldn't match me up. And remember, your block list is finite.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you're only taking maybe 200 people. I don't know how big the block list is off the top of my head. A few hundred people. You're only taking a few hundred people out of your potential queue. But
which could be substantial depending on when you're logging on.
If you extrapolate that,
across to everyone.
Let's say I'm in a team of 5 people, and each of us has 200 people on our block list. Now, that particular 5 comp that it can put together becomes much more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
1,000 people. They're trying to dodge.
I can understand why it doesn't work like that because it could increase queue times.
Yeah,
honestly,
so
not just for you but for others.
Yeah, for sure. One solution might be to really limit that block list. Like make it to where you can only block out your top 10 maybe.
Yeah, or yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing because like I said, like or maybe to where like it just rotates. Like after you have 5 people blocked, you block somebody else that knocks the other person off the list. Because you never, like TBK said, if he blocks somebody, you don't want to play with them again. But a month down the line, like I said, that guy could have really just been having a bad day, and he was taking it out on his team for some reason. Maybe he is a good player and actually a good teammate. You get him down the line, you don't even remember. And maybe if we have a accommodation system someday, maybe you give that guy a thumbs up and you didn't even realize it. So, but there needs to be something. But like Draven's saying in chat, apparently he blocked somebody and got the same person 4 games in a row. That is bad luck, sir. That is
unfortunate.
You should give him a second to queue before you queue again.
Yes. But yeah, it's a interesting thing, and I think we'll check in on that to see if we can get a answer.
I'm pretty sure there is no stipulation around it though.
Yeah.
Just because of kind of what we talked about.
Okay. So Draven, we will get to your Diva quote question next week, and we also had an email with a solution to Varian quick match issue that we will get to next week as well, because we started late and this is another 2-hour episode.
Yep.
So before we go here real quick, Multi, why don't you tell people where we can be reached?
Well, I'll make this quick. You can find us in-game by typing /join space LOTS or join our Discord, which is sticky at the top of our Twitter at Lords of the Storm. We're on twitch.tv/Lords of the Storm live Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Central. And we are also on facebook.com/Lords of the Storm podcast. You can send us email with feedback or questions, lordsofthestorm@outlook.com. And if you want to help out the show, a couple ways to do it. Leave a positive review, like 5-star iTunes. That'd be really cool. Or if you really appreciate what we do and feel like it's worth a little bit of your extra change, maybe a cup of coffee every now and then or so, we do have patreon.com/Lords of the Storm, where you can give any amount you deem appropriate. And we appreciate anyone helping out.
Absolutely. You can also find us individually. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, all those things at GizmoZord, as well as Convert to Raid Presents, the World of Warcraft podcast featuring all things Blizzard, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. My bad. Multi, where can you be reached?
I'm on Twitter at Multizord, and I'm also going to point you at our sister show, The Cavalry, which is about Overwatch, and a ton of stuff going on in Overwatch, you guys. They're doing that year celebration next week. And there's a media summit going on right now about it. So it's going to be huge, whatever it is.
Also,
guessing it's not just skins, but we'll see.
I don't know if you guys hit on Jeff Kaplan's tweet that about the pineapple on the pizza to settle the debate. And he said, if there is one thing that all the heroes in Overwatch have in common, and that is they all love pineapple on their pizza. It's the one thing.
Laying it down.
It's just,
so apparently,
I can't disagree.
Pineapple on pizza is okay, and that's all there is to it. Garrett, I'm sorry. You just got to accept it. TBK, where can you be reached?
You can find me on Twitter at TBKZord or twitch.tv/TBKZord, where right now I'm mainly just streaming Masters Class Sunday at 7 Pacific, 9 Central. Although this Sunday there will not be a new episode because both Juki and myself will be traveling. So...
Okay.
I'll be doing next week's episode from a hotel again.
We want to give a special thanks to our patron producer, Mr. Ouroboros Zord, for helping support the show. We really do appreciate it. We will see you all next week, same place, same time, 9 p.m. Central on Wednesday. Get in there, try out the new Uther, try out Tyrande, Alarak, Dahaka, all the heroes. We'll see you then. Have a good one.
Enough. I shall do no more.